All right, new this morning, President Trump claims the only thing that could limit his powers around the globe, quote, his own morality. He said that in an interview with the New York Times, and one of the reporters who was there is with us now, Zolan Kano-Youngs. He's also a CNN political analyst. Great to see you. Saw the pictures of you talking to the president of the Oval Office. Sound like quite a 2 hours there. I want to read that quote so people just can see it. Asked if there are any limits, he said, yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop me. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people, he said.
Do you see any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop, and that's
law.
Very good. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people.
So what was your takeaway with that comment there?
I then followed up after that quote too and asked directly, do you feel you need to abide by international law? And he said, I do. But then he would go on to say, it sort of depends what your definition of international law is, indicating that almost he was the arbiter of international law. Look, all of this, if you zoom out, speaks to the power that President Trump feels that he has gathered here and just how unconstrained he feels on the global stage. It's probably among allies, provoked some concern, as well as other foreign leaders as well, that the leader of the United States at this point is brushing aside international law and feels that he is only constrained by himself. And this is particularly relevant when you've heard recent comments about his approach to Greenland. He told us that he psychologically feels that he wants ownership of Greenland. And of course, as well as the extraordinary military operation that we've seen in Venezuela. Another key comment he made to us was that he feels this U.S. oversight over the Venezuelan government could last for years, right? And we've already seen ripple effects across his own party. Senator Rand Paul, after members of Congress passed that war powers resolution that would seemingly constrain the White House when it comes to military operations overseas, he said that he felt that part of the reason they got some of the votes from Republicans for that might have been President's comment to us about oversight lasting for years.
Welcome back. Zolan, did you all pick your jaws up from the desk when he said that? Because, I mean, there is a constitution, for example.
Sure.
There are international, never mind norms, but actual laws.
Yeah.
And the fact that he said he's only hemmed in by his own morality.
Yeah. Tried to keep a poker face there, but did follow up and say, well, it's not just your morality. I asked about international law. And at first he brushed aside it, and I said, well, do you feel that you have to abide by international law? And that's when he said something along the lines of, well, it depends how you define international law. Well, many would say there's not a subjective view of that, right? I really think what just this spoke to, these were the quotes that stood out during this interview, and it spoke to the power the president has gathered, but also his erosion of guardrails, not just domestically in the U.S., but also overseas. And it is especially significant right now because of the military operation we just saw in Venezuela. His comments also about Greenland. He told us in this interview that psychologically he feels that he wants ownership of Greenland.
Yeah.
And then also just in terms of Venezuela, the news where he said that he feels that the U.S. will have oversight of Venezuela for years, right? We saw that has had ripple effects in Congress. Rand Paul came out after that resolution was passed to constrain the president when it comes to military operations overseas. And he said, I think part of the reason we got Republican votes for this was that comment he made in our interview.
And it's just an example. Tim Sheehy, the Republican senator from Montana, was here a couple of days ago, and I asked him about it, and he said, everybody is taking the president, this is before your interview, out of context, and he says he's running. It doesn't mean forever, and then he comes out and says to you for a very long time. I feel like based on my own morality is going to be one of those quotes that will be very high in the history books written of Donald Trump's second term.
It's the fascinating thing about Trump. He just says it, right? Like he just puts it out there. And to me, this has been the consistent through line of this second term. Whether we talk about Stephen Miller's obsession with plenary power, whether we talk about the way they've used executive authority from things from DOJ, domestic policy, international policy, their through line has been Donald Trump's kind of overarching view that he is unchecked and that Congress has basically, and you know, I was on the Hill yesterday, they're talking about their kind of abdication of power to kind of fuel Trump's kind of all-encompassing ability to make policy. So I think that his admission there is one that's actually been very clear throughout how he's conducted the second term, and I think is a takeaway that they have from the first term. I say this all the time, but like in those Biden years, the grassroots fervor among the MAGA crowd around that Donald Trump was stymied in his first term, and that basically if he was to get back,
that he had rhinos around
that he had all these rhinos around him, and if he gets back, he needs to surround with true believers who will enact a total MAGA agenda. That is the goal of this second term.